Hello, sparrows. Rhubarb. Rhubarb. I think rhubarb is my new favorite thing for hair accessories. It winds really well. It makes really good pie after you've had it in your hair. And it smells divine when you snap the stem like that. That's how you know it's nice and fresh when the stem snaps. So this Friday is the strawberry full moon. And I found this lovely tea towel that someone donated. Thank you very much. So we're going to put this here. This is for the strawberry full moon on Friday. It's called the strawberry full moon because moons were named after the time of year they appear and what was happening in nature at the time. So wild strawberries start to pop out at about this time. And it is the beginning of that hot, summery, hazy, that warm smell of summer has just started to evaporate from the leaves when you're walking in nature. And so it's the strawberry full moon. It's sometimes called the hot moon or the hay moon. And that's on Friday, so look out for a beautiful strawberry full moon. What else do we have? Let's bring back our little laser duck. He's our good luck duck. Thank you for being with us, laser duck. And thing finding. Look what I found on my front doorstep. A tiny little homemade bee. Thank you, whoever left that there. That, I think, is because in my front garden, those of you who know where I live on the main street through our town. So lots of people go by, and I am lucky enough to have a fairy tree in front of my house where the fairies leave gifts in a hole in the tree for people passing by. And I've started to make my front yard into a bee garden. So I've overplanted with clover last year or the year before, and now I'm planting some beans and some wild strawberries, and I'm hoping to encourage other people to plant things in their gardens for the bees. So I have some bee balm, I have some echinacea, I have some milkweed, I have some wild nettle. There's a strange plant growing up through the grass right now with lovely white flowers. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I'm going to find out. Anyway, thank you whoever left this beautiful little bee, who I'm going to make one of my little video pop-ups with this little sweet thing. So let's make tea. Here is my storytelling wish. There we go. And let's put the fairy stone there from the other day. Oh, all those lovely, lovely talismans that remind us about who we are in the world. I've got my thimbles back from our walk in nature the other day. So here's our thimble tea. Let's make rhubarb tea. So thank you, rhubarb, for growing with your big lush leaves and your lovely red stems. We're going to stir in a little quack of laser duck and some apple blossom, which are on the trees right now, and the spinach is just popping through. Oh, let's put a bit of that in there too. And what else shall we have? The swift wing of a swallow. The swallows are really busy on the top of the river right now collecting insects. Swarms of insects Lots of swallows. So cheers. Here's to rhubarb tea. Cheers. Rhubarb tea for me. Nothing like the swift swoop of a swallow wing to make one's tea taste delightful. Thank you for that. Let's, we've got to send hugs and love. So, you ready? Let's fill these up with hugs and love for everyone around the world who needs them and would like them. Everywhere, 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 all around the world, all the people, all the beings, anyone who needs extra support and love and hugs, from our hearts to your hearts. Way it goes on the swallow's wings. Okay. Now, I have forgotten to wear these because no one's here to tell me. I'm surprised I could see the words with only one pair of glasses on. So let's put on my storytelling glasses. Ooh, lovely. Okay, it's magic mirror. Magic mirror. Oh yes, lovely. Rhubarb, 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 rhubarb. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you in your comfy spot? Then I will begin. So Pippi was making up her own word. Do you remember that? She made up spink, and then they discovered that it was actually, well, they named a beetle after it. Do you remember that? Oh, it was one of my favorite chapters. So you can make up your own words. So one day, Pippi looked at her front doormat, and do you know what was there? A letter addressed to her. And because her reading isn't very strong, she picked up the letter and ran over to Tommy and Annika's with it. Ran into their kitchen. Tommy and Annika, I have a letter. It says my name on it. Would you please read it for me? So Annika opened the letter and read aloud to Pippi. My dear Pippalata, when you get this, you might as well go down to the harbour and start looking for the hop toad. Because now I'm coming to get you and bring you here to Curracurradat. That's a tricky word. Curracurradat Island for a while. You ought at least to see the country where your father has become a very kind king. It's really very nice here, and I think that you would like it and feel very much at home. The people here are absolutely wonderful and are very much looking forward to meeting the Princess Pippalata, of whom they have heard so much. A really big kiss and many fond regards from your old loving father, King Ephraim I Longstocking. When Annika had finished reading, you could have heard a pin drop in the kitchen. No one dared even to blink. Pippi's father was coming on the ship Hop Toad to pick her up and sail away with her. I don't think Tommy and Annika are very happy about that. So on a beautiful morning, the ship Hop Toad sailed into the harbour, decorated with flags from end to end. The town band was on the pier playing welcome songs with all its might. The whole town had gathered to see Pippi meet her father, King Ephraim I Longstocking. A photographer was standing ready to snap a picture of their meeting. Pippi was jumping up and down with impatience, and the gangplank was hardly down before Captain Longstocking and Pippi rushed towards each other with shouts of joy. Captain Longstocking was so happy to see his daughter that he threw her up in the air several times. And Pippi was just as happy, so she threw her father up in the air several times. And they each kept throwing each other up into the air. And the only one who was not happy was the photographer, because he couldn't get a picture of either Pippi or her father standing together at the same time, because one or other was in the air for at least 10 minutes. That's how happy they were to see each other. So Pippi, of course, had to go on board and say hello to Friedolf and all the other friends among the sailors. And Tommy and Annika trotted behind. They felt so strange, walking on a ship that they had heard about, and all of Pippi's descriptions about her adventures on the ship, and there they were on the good ship Hoptoad. They kept their eyes wide open so they didn't miss anything. They were especially eager to meet Agaton and Theodore, of whom Pippi had talked about. But Pippi said that the twins had signed off the ship a long time ago. Pippi hugged all the sailors so hard that 5 minutes later they were still clutching their ribs. Oh, ow, 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 because Pippi's so strong, she squeezes so tight. And then she lifted her father, Captain Longstocking, up onto her shoulders and carried him through the cheering crowd all the way home to Villa Vellicula. Hand in hand, Tommy and Annika walked behind them. And a few hours later, Captain Longstocking was in a bed at Villa Vellicula, snoring and sleeping and snoring so loud the whole house shook. Pippi, Tommy, and Annika were sitting at the kitchen table where the remains of a splendid supper were still in evidence. And Tommy and Annika were quite quiet and thoughtful. I think they're a bit sad that Pippi was going to be sailing away with her dad. Well, Pippi was in a wonderful mood. She stroked Mr. Nielsen, who was carefully making his way back and forth between the plates on the table. She stroked Tommy and Annika. Mr. Nielsen, Tommy, Annika, she was so happy. She whistled and she sang and she did a little happy dance. And then she got onto the table and she did another little happy dance. She didn't seem to notice that Tommy and Annika were very sad. Well, going to sea for a bit again is going to be marvelous, she said. Just think of being on the ocean. Oh, there's so much freedom and so many interesting people to meet and customs to learn about and history to listen to. And Tommy and Annika just sighed. And, said Pippi, I'm really quite excited about seeing Curragudut. Curragudut. Is that right? Curragudut Island too. Imagine what it'll be like to be wandering around the towns. If there are any towns, she said, I don't even know what's on the island. Well, at least I'll get to meet the people and I can walk down and put my toes in the South Pacific. And all I'll have to do is open my mouth and a banana will pop off the tree and I'll eat it. Oh, fresh bananas, my favorite, she said. Tommy and Annika sighed again. Oh, and it's going to be a lot of fun playing with children on the island. Tommy and Annika sighed again. What are you sighing for? Said Pippi. Don't you like the idea of me being on an island and meeting new people and playing with new children and learning interesting things about their interesting lives? Well, of course, said Tommy, but we're just thinking that's probably going to be a really long time before you come back to Villa Vellicula. Oh, I'm sure of that, said Pippi. Well, I'm not sorry at all. I can have almost more fun on Curricurridat Island. Annika turned pale, and she turned her unhappy face towards Pippi. Oh, Pippi, how long do you think you'll be away? Oh, that's hard to say. I don't know. Maybe, Christmas time maybe? Annika went, oh! Well, who knows, said Pippi. Oh, maybe I'll like it so much that I'll feel like staying forever. La, 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 la. She sang and she did a few pirouettes. Tommy and Annika's eyes, looking out of their pale faces, began to have a peculiar glassy stare. And suddenly Annika bent down over the table and she burst into tears. Oh, I don't want you to go, she said. Pippi looked horrified and she said, oh, wait, but come to think of it, I don't think that I'd like to stay there forever, said Pippi. One can have too much of that kind of a life, and just really need to come back to Villa Vellicula. So one day you'll probably hear me saying, Tommy and Annika, how would you like to go back to Villa Vellicula for a while again? Oh, how wonderful it will be when you write that to us, said Tommy, looking a bit confused. And Pippi said, write? Write? Why would I write to you? You have ears. Well, I hope you have ears. You have ears. I have no intention of writing. I will just say, Tommy and Annika, now it's time to go back to Villa Vellicula. Annie raised her head from the table, and Tommy said, what do you mean, Pippi? What do I mean? What do I mean, said Pippi. Don't you understand my words? Or have you forgotten? Or have I forgotten? Or have I forgotten to tell you? You are both coming with me on the good ship Hoptoad to Curricurridat Island. Oh, I thought I'd mentioned that to you. Tommy and Annika jumped to their feet. Their breath came in gasps, and Tommy said, oh, you tell Pippi, that would be so great. But you talk a lot of nonsense. We would love to go, but our mother and father would never let us go with you on the good ship Hoptoad far away. And Pippi said, yes, they will. I've already talked to them. And for exactly 5 seconds, there was silence in the kitchen of Villa Vellicula. Then there were two piercing yells. Tommy and Annika shrieked and were wild with joy. Mr. Nielsen, who was sitting on the table and trying to spread butter on his hat, looked up in surprise. He was still more surprised when he saw Pippi and Tommy and Annika take one another by the hand and start dancing crazily on the table around him. They danced and they shouted so the ceiling lamp loosened and fell down out of the ceiling. Crash! Then Mr. Nielsen jumped off of the table and hid in the wood box as fast as he could. Is it really true? Asked Tommy when they'd calmed down. Yes, it's really true. Tommy and Annika were going to go to Curragh Island. And to be sure, I'm just checking that the time is, yes, we're good. And to be sure, all the ladies in the town came to Tommy and Annika's mother and said,
"You don't mean that you're thinking of sending your children off to the South Seas with Pippi Longstocking? You can't be serious."
And Mrs. Settergren said, "Well, and why shouldn't I? The children need a change of climate, and as long as I've known Pippi, she has never done anything that has harmed Tommy and Annika in any way. And in fact, there has been no one who has treated them more kindly and with more care than Pippi Longstocking." "Well, that Pippi Longstocking, oh, she doesn't exactly know her manners," said another lady. "Exactly," said Mrs. Settergren. "Pippi Longstocking's manners may not always be what they ought, but she has a very big heart, and that counts more than manners," said Mrs. Settergren. I like that part. It's true. It's all about the love in people's hearts for everyone on the planet. So, on a chilly night in early spring, Tommy and Annika left the little town for the first time in their lives to travel out into the great, strange world with Pippi. All three of them were standing at the rail of the good ship Hoptoad while the brisk night air filled the sails. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say all five of them, because the porch horse went with them and Mr. Nielsen. All of the children's classmates were there to wave. And tomorrow, the teacher said the classmates would be going to school to learn all about the islands in the South Pacific, where Tommy and Annika and Pippi would be going. And the teacher said, "I'm very glad they're traveling because their mental health comes before school, and they will learn a lot about other people's history and can come back to school and teach us all about the people of the Pacific Islands." Tommy and Annika's mother and father were also on the pier. Tommy and Annika suddenly felt lumps in their throats when they saw their parents wiping their eyes and a little bit sad to see them leaving. But they were so happy to be going. They were so happy, in fact, that it almost hurt. So off they went onto the ship, waving to their mother and father, who, although they were sad, they were also very happy that their children were traveling and meeting other people from around the world. And slowly, the Hoptoad sailed out of the harbor. "Tommy and Annika," cried Mrs. Settergren, their mother, "when you get out into the North Sea, it's very cold, so you have to put on 2 of your undershirts and—" But no one could hear the rest. for the cheers of all the people on the pier was so loud, and the wild whinnying of the horse, and Pippi's happy noisiness, and Captain Longstocking's loud trumpeting when he blew his nose. No one could hear the end of Tommy and Annika's mother's sentence. The voyage had begun. The good ship Hoptoad was sailing out under the stars. Ice blocks were floating around the bow, and the wind was singing in the sails. "Oh, Pippi," said Annika, "I have such a funny, good feeling. I'm beginning to think that I will be a pirate too when I grow up." And that's the end of that chapter. Thank you for joining me in the nest today, and I hope that you will enjoy imagining, traveling in your mind to all the beautiful countries and meeting all the beautiful people of this beautiful planet, and sending them much love and honor and respect for all the different ways that they live. We have much to learn from each other. And I look forward to imagining Pippi and Tommy and Annika learning all about the cultures of the places they are going to visit now, and bringing the stories back to their classroom and teaching the children all about those really important things to know about. So, hugs for you, hugs for you. Thank you for joining me. Enjoy the beautiful strawberry full moon on Friday. Bye.